Hey all, so week 4 of Summer of Pain is here. It's this Darkhawk with his endless unblockable special ones. And this is the first week with objectives, so you have to beat him with specific champions to get the full points. I'm not really going to go over those in detail because there are a million videos out there. Red Magneto is awesome. If you don't have him, there are some other villain options, there's some other mutant options. Most of the robots work. I've seen Dragon Man, Warlock, Gilly 99, Sentinel. All are great. Check those out and do whatever works for you. And remember, with the fact that we have a full week and infinite restarts on these, there's no shame in using a revive. With that said, I was kind of messing around with the robot fights, and I know that they're going to happen, like I'm going to get there, but I wasn't really enjoying them, and I just wasn't really motivated. And so I decided that because I knew I was going to try this particular option eventually, I'd go ahead and use Reed, and it just made the fight more fun for me. Yeah, instantly better. So let's go over why specifically he's good for this. And the first and most important thing are his careful study debuffs. So because Darkhawk can only throw his special one, that means every special he throws will be a special one, and therefore these debuffs will stack and eventually turn into a passive, meaning that very quickly, especially if I get hit early on, Darkhawk's special ones are going to be doing 75% less damage. And additionally, he's going to have 3 debuffs on him, which is going to increase my attack and give me a 15% chance to evade. On top of that, because my Reed is awakened, I'm getting an extra 20% chance to evade unblockable attacks, so we're up to 35 now, and then 3% every time he starts one. So it caps at 50% for basic hits, but it actually doesn't cap for specials. So while it's going to take a very long time to get from that 35 to 100% evade chance, this means that Reed has a really significant evasion chance throughout the entire fight. The damage that the specials do is being cut by 75%, and as long as we're staying on top of these steadfast buffs, we have extra block proficiency during the specials. The combination of all those factors means that I just don't really have to worry about the specials. I am still working on the triple dex method where you dex the first 2 beams, block the third, and then dex out of the fourth, and I do highly recommend that for anyone doing this fight. But this solo was pretty easy for me just focusing on the dex block dex method. I just personally found that easier, and it was enough for this. So we are still going to block, and generally try and build up our steadfast buffs rather than just having him endlessly spam them, especially early on. You can see there the biggest risk for Reed in terms of damage is just taking a full combo. So right at the start there, I was having some trouble with reparry. You know how things are right now. And I just took too much block damage. And there I messed up the dex, but like I said, because I got hit by the special, we now have converted the debuff into that passive, which counts as 3 copies. That was just a bad dex, but you can see that it did pennies for damage, right? So I think that's the last time I get hit here. You see the evade triggering there. I'm just taking very, very little on block, and I'm going to try and avoid blocking any combos, and I'm just going to parry. So it's a relatively small Fury because I only have 3 debuffs on the opponent, but it's going to be enough that I'm going to pretty quickly start winning the HP race. Now, you can do this particular fight using Reed's pre-fights and then using the special 2 to stack those debuffs so that you get a much larger Fury from the special 3. The reason I chose not to do that, and I did test it once, the reason I chose not to do that is because the only way to keep those debuffs up is to knock Darkhawk down, which puts him into his shield mode. And that becomes dangerous, not only because he then stuns on his special one, but also because you are no longer able to freely combo into him. The most you can do is 3 hits at a time when you parry him. and that slows down your rate of gain of steadfast debuffs, and you can quickly end up running out of them and getting hit a lot more. Additionally, because he will still probably auto-block those special 2s unless you time it perfectly, there's a good chance you're going to end up taking some shock damage because he's basically always going to be in that auto-block mode. And the shock damage on this node with the enhanced shock is pretty beefy. Reed has energy resistance and it was still doing like 1600 damage. So I figured that it was better to just not use the pre-fights, keep my specials unblockable in case I ever needed that, and just focus on turning the Careful Study passive itself into the Fury Fuel, and play this a little more slowly. As you can see, we're not retaliating after that special because he's in auto-block mode, and that would hurt us more than 3 parries. So it's better to just back off and wait for another parry. Once it's gone, I freely combo, I retaliate, I keep my tempo up. Also, because my Mr. Fantastic is a full Sig 180, this fight is easier than it might be for some others, because I'm getting over 40% extra offensive combat power rate, and it's pretty easy for me to just get right back up to my special 3. Like I said earlier, we are now winning the HP race. He's still doing damage to us, but look at this next L1. I think it's like 150 damage per hit on block. Whereas every time we do this, we're doing thousands to him. Yeah, see, they're 159. He obviously has a lot more health, but the trend is still downwards. I spent most of my health at the beginning here making silly mistakes and getting hit, and as a trade-off for the rest of the fight, this is extremely safe, even if he spams L1s. Because remember, every time he throws one, our chance to evade should go up by, I believe it's like 12% from the different unblockable ones. I admit I'm not 100% sure how that interacts with the steadfast debuffs, and whether if you can block an unblockable attack, does it still count as unblockable for the purposes of Reed's Sig? My suspicion is there might actually be a bit of an issue there, because you can tell in this fight I clearly didn't get to that 100%. But regardless, however it functions, there was enough of an evade chance, enough of an attack reduction, and then the steadfast buffs were giving us enough of a block proficiency boost that this was an easy fight. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I did put some screenshots here of abilities, but if you're at all confused as to how Mr. Fantastic works and why he lends himself so well to this fight, go ahead and check out my guide, which I'll put a card up here, and I'll link it in the description. And you can also check out my war video playlist, where I actually use Mr. Fantastic a fair bit on offense, and not just for his pre-fights. Really an incredible champion. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll go ahead and let it play out from here. I don't think I'm going to bother uploading additional solos this week, because like I said, the population of Magneto and Sentinel videos is already quite high. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.